So here's what's interesting about this, because so they signed this new executive order this morning. President signs it, prosecuting the burning of the American flag, and people say, "Whoa! I was told the Supreme Court said that was totally cool. That's a bedrock, lifelong American value, all the way back to the founding fathers of 1989, when this agreement came down for the Supreme Court, when the ruling came down. But what's interesting is because I've actually gone through and read the executive order, which I don't think most people have, and it specifically talks about, and this is interesting, groups of foreign nationals burning the American flag as a calculated act to intimidate and threaten violence against Americans because of their nationality and place of birth. Talking about
the California riots.
Right, the California riots, and American as a nationality and America as a place of birth. Yep. So we are the only country in the world where we allow foreign nationals to come in and burn our flag and say they're perfectly allowed to do this while intimidating and threatening us.
They made hybrid flags, remember?
Right.
In California, they made the hybrid flag, mixing the Mexican flag and the American flag.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Okay. So they've done everything possible to desecrate and demoralize the American public through flag burning, through the destruction of the symbols that we care about.
It's absolutely
and again,
demoralizing.
I don't want to hear anything about freedom of speech. These guys will tear down monuments. They tear down the Confederate flag in the South. They don't give a shit about freedom of speech. They don't care.
Yeah, they prosecute you if you do a burnout on like a pride crosswalk.
Yeah,
that's a totally different subject.
Wait, before we get to all this, before we do this, which I definitely want to get to, I want to point out that people are saying, how is he getting around the Supreme Court decision, right? Isn't this just obviously incorrect? You say, but what they've done is they're saying, notwithstanding the Supreme Court's rulings on First Amendment protections, the court has never held that American flag desecration conducted in a manner that is likely to incite imminent lawless action, or that is an action amounting to, quote, fighting words, is constitutionally protected. So it seems like and it's just my, kind of lay reading on it, I don't think any of us are lawyers, that, let's say you buy a flag, Amazon, whatever, you bring it to your house, you decide to burn your flag in an act of protest. This wouldn't cover that. But what it would cover is all of the other instances that we're talking about.
Yeah, like them burning it in the middle of the street, starting fires in California with the flags and things like this, which they were doing. They would just argue,
which is also an illegal fire.
They would just argue, well, that would already fall under arson laws. Why do you need this law? Well, the thing is like, you are correct. What they're saying here is, if it's the case that we can see that you're doing this in a manner which looks like incitement, now we can get you for incitement. It's not just burning the flag anymore, right? We're going to go out. Now, this is a workaround. I agree that that's kind of what they're doing by holding up the Supreme Court decision here and saying we're going to work around it.
They actually cite it.
I don't think it goes far enough. I would like to see it repealed. If you burn the American flag in America, you need to be dealt with. It's a traitorous act. It's a treasonous act as far as I'm concerned. It's a seditious act at the very least. And I have no idea why we want to import millions of people who then go to California, make a hybrid flag, start fires, and burn our flag. It's crazy.
So you mentioned, real quick, it was demoralizing.
Yes.
Unpack that.
Yeah. Okay. So this is the main thing. So all of the flag burning with the media in front of it, this type of thing, the entirety of it is to show America's in ashes, right? They're going to get that snapshot, and they're going to put the perfect filter on it. They're going to put the perfect background there with the filter that shows the American flag burning. And the whole point of it is to say America's on fire. We're at the precipice. We're at the brink. And the whole thing is to kind of keep the country in this idea of turmoil. This consistent idea of turmoil, never-ending color revolution. It's designed specifically to demoralize. Why do you think they hand them out? They hand them out with lighters. We were watching the California riots. People would heap garbage in the middle of the road, and a masked guy would come by, and out of his pocket, he'd pull out lighter fluid, spray the lighter fluid all over it, light it, and then walk off. Now, where the hell are these guys getting all of this? They came totally prepared to start arsonist fires, right? That's what they were prepared to do. All of it's designed to be demoralizing to the American public, and it's always been designed to be demoralizing to the public.
If you value something, you would protect it. You would enshrine that in law. I was tweeting about this earlier today. I saw some of your stuff about this. I couldn't agree more. I think that I do think that this will be a test of the Supreme Court.
Of course.
I also think that it's kind of ridiculous to say that it is a 20th century notion, a very modern notion, to think that the First Amendment covers this kind of activity.
Yeah.
This political expression was very well known to the founding fathers in the founding generation. Yep. They would tar and feather people, right? They knew the difference between speech and expression. As it turns out, our ancestors were not stupid. In our forefathers in this case.
I mean, honestly, they would have shot these people. Not kidding.
So
they would have.
Most of this, the understanding was most of this was left to the states.
Yeah.
This was a 10th Amendment protection. And it turns out that, by the way, pretty much, I think 48 of states at one point all had flag desecration laws. And this was totally accepted throughout pretty much all of American history right up until 1989.
Oh, they had blasphemy laws on the books.
They had blasphemy laws on the books.
Well into the 19th century they had them, yeah.
You make a great point here with symbolism, the idea of the American symbol. So I think of it this way.
Symbolism is everything.
It's like when you have It's like when you have two kids, and the one, they're putting their finger really close to the other kid, and they're like, "I'm not touching you.
Right.
I'm not touching you. I'm not touching you." And they do it for hours, and finally the other kid just belts him.
Right.
Can you believe he did that?
I never touched him.
Can you believe he did? I never actually did anything wrong. Can you believe he? And of course, what happens is this is the same thing. The idea here is, we're not doing anything wrong. Look, we're not doing anything wrong. Shove it in your face as much as possible. Say, burn down everything you love, burn down your symbols, deface them, and try to demoralize you. And you go, well, we're going to pass a law that you can't do that anymore. I can't believe that you're a totalitarian fascist.
I want to see,
like, what?
is there anyone, Serge, check out the chat. Is there anyone who disagrees?
I was
what do you
seeing
think?
people in the chat saying like stuff like, oh well, it's not actually a crime. It's actually, guys, it's not actually a crime to burn the flag. Actually, did you know that it's not actually a crime to burn the flag? Which is just talking about this.
Not touching you.
This whole midwittery thing we were talking about before the show, like where it's like, yeah, okay, we know it's not a crime. Like we shouldn't be encouraging or allowing everyone to do it en masse at every protest across the country. I just see them in the chat. People like you asked about us on the chat.
I definitely disagree. I don't want the flag to be burned. But it's like my last argument. I just think I just think you have that right to burn it in the street if you want. That's what Johnson was doing.
Yeah, I've got a little more nuanced take than Shane. I think that as if you've got someone with a green card or something like that, or someone that's not a citizen, then that should be grounds to revoke their green card, send them back. But personally, I think any reason that you can get to revoke green cards and send people back is fine with me. I like the idea of people being able to do it so you know who the bad guys are. Same reason that I like free speech. So people will tell you the bad things, tell you the things that will say the things.
Can you make that argument for all crime, though?
Pardon me?
Couldn't you make that argument for like?
I knew he was a murderer.
No.
Aha! There's the murderer. Look at him killing that child.
Because the reason being is because this is something that will happen at protests, something that'll happen in certain contexts. I mean,
regardless of
what, confused about who the bad guys are.
Even if there's
confused about who the bad guys are.
It's not always the same people burning the flag.
I think they would still do it regardless of what the law is.
To expand it to all crime is not to expand it to all crime. Really misses the point. The point is, it's fine if people want, like, I don't have a problem with people that want to, or I don't have a problem with people burning the flag, right? Because if it's their own property or whatever, I don't have a problem with it. There is a free speech argument in my opinion. But also I like the idea of being able to, people that actually have bad ideas and have bad motivations. I like those people feeling like they can speak out so you can identify.
But it's not always the bad people burning the flag. It could be a Marine like Smedley Butler who's against going to war and he's out there burning the flag.
Right, but the context for me is what changes.
Are Marines out there burning flags?
There have been vets burning flags for sure.
Yeah, the thing is,
and
it doesn't mean they're Marxists. Doesn't mean they're Marxists.
I think it's a rarity. But the thing is if you have,
well, I'll steelman your argument a little bit. I think in the Vietnam War era is really when this really kicked.
Yeah, because a bunch of hippies, who again were backed by massive communist NGOs, and anybody who looks at the '60s era can see the infiltration of feminism via NGOs, via Rockefeller Foundation.
But that has nothing to do with not wanting to go to war.
Well,
and I agree with that.
Hang on. It kind of did. It was all tied in together. Okay.
Right, but it doesn't mean you're supporting feminism by not wanting to go to war.
No, I agree with that. I'm just saying that all of this was tied in as a psyop, essentially. And all I would point out is this. You don't take the most powerful symbol that you can get behind, that men have run behind. One of the most kind of like if you look at the Iwo Jima, that statue Iwo Jima, right? The guy has the flag up, and there's
our flag is our most sacred.
There's 6 other
I would say it
soldiers
should be
around
the cross.
It's enshrined as this thing. The reason it's on the military uniform going the opposite direction is because it's supposed to emulate as a soldier's running, the flag's blowing behind him, right? It's such a powerful patriotic motivator and a powerful glue that holds society together. These people erode those things. That's what LGBTQ is always about. It's what all of this stuff is about, is the erosion of the symbols of the things that are good. And it's like, no, you can't burn them. You go to fucking jail. Good.
And the way that you can prove this test, by the way, of what you're saying, in the fact that it's not just erosion, but it's also replacement, right? So you're replacing your symbols of power, your sacred totems with ours. And so in the same token, by the same vector, you go to any lib, any leftist, and we all know what I'm going to say, but I got to say it anyway because I'm hosting the show. Is okay? Would you hold the same for an LGBT flag or one of those pride crosswalks or a trans flag, or just pick any other of your hodgepodge of flags that they all have, at any coffee shop, by the way.
Well, no, they would say,
by the way, what about
but there shouldn't be.
They would say
any,
that's a
in my
hate,
opinion, there shouldn't
crime,
be hate
and they would
crimes
say
at all.
you should be,
of course,
and they would say you should be
we
arrested.
should burn those too.
But in many states, you can't name your kid Adolf Hitler. Where are the liberals? Where are the liberals running out and saying, we demand you be able to name your child Adolf Hitler?
They're
nowhere.
not.
Instead,
It does roll off the tongue.
And also,
nowhere.
Go ahead.
I was just saying, also, it's like, for me, like, I'm 24, so every time in my entire life I've seen someone burn a flag, it's 1-to-1 with people that hate me. So it's like, I'm also kind of tired of protecting the rights of people that hate me, like, all the time.
I'm okay with protecting
really
the rights of people that hate me.
I'm not.
Well, it's most of this country.
After what they've done to me, I don't.
But I mean, I would even push back on the idea that it's a quote unquote right.
Depending, because how are they going to define likely to incite? Like, that could be very vague.
I mean, I'm pretty much all incitement.
If you're on top of a car,
they were trying to say during Johnson, him burning the flag in public was going to incite violence. They obviously didn't. It didn't.
Yeah, but isn't that an exception? Like, most of the places you see a lot of flag burning,
I don't think
isn't there a lot of violence that's going on?
The statute says,
I don't think every time, but certainly a lot.
Yeah,
certainly a lot. Especially when they're tearing down Confederate statues.
You would still need a test case, but even then, the incitement statute would still have a statutory definition.
I think the symbol of a flag burning is not going to automatically incite violence. I think the death cult of Marxism has rotted the brains of these people, and they'll take anything as a symbol to incite violence or as an excuse.
No, I don't disagree with that. But what I'm saying is,
why do they use that one?
It's got a specific.
Well, they use a ton. It's not the only one.
They mostly use that one.
They usually, if they touch the American flag, they hiss. They usually don't even touch it. They usually.
Well, they'll touch it to burn it. In fact, I remember in the California riots when we were watching them live, there was multiple times where they were handing these flags out where people were saying, guys, don't wave that. It's bad optics for us, right? It's going to turn people against us, making this Mexico-American flag. And they ignored them. They did it anyway. Now, I agree it was an optic eyesore, but I also think that when you have symbols in a nation that help tie that nation together, the Stars and Stripes, we have tons of songs about this, because patriotism is part of the glue. We want, if we are legitimately attacked or assaulted, for the country to come together under a symbol. That's the symbol.
We actually refer to that as the rally around the flag.
Yeah, you don't
phenomenon.
You don't burn it. You don't desecrate it. And by the way, why didn't society fall apart before this ruling? Tell me that. How come people seem to be more free when you couldn't burn the flag than they do right now when you can?
What I find so strange about this is people say, "Oh, this is a bedrock right. This is a long-term." No, it's not. It's that is a completely ahistorical argument to make. This was a 1989 decision by the Supreme Court.
Zoomers aren't that old.
This is exactly right. But and I've said stuff about this online, and I completely agree with you. It's the glue. It's our national symbol. This is why we take your hat off when the Star-Spangled Banner is being sung. You put your hand over your heart. These are national civic rituals.
You used to, when I was a kid, you pledged your allegiance to what?
Pledge allegiance to the flag.
The flag of the United States of America.
And I think it's okay. I think it's okay to love this country and also hate the government and not be okay with the flag. Because you've been enslaved.
Okay too.
I think you've been enslaved and destroyed by this government my whole life.
I also think
a network of undeclared wars, and it's okay. You have that right, despite it not being literally written in the First Amendment, to say screw this.
Well, I would say that.
But if it's not written, then how could then
prayer's not in there either, and automatic rifles aren't in in the
Freedom of
Second
religion
Amendment.
is in there.
Right, but it doesn't specifically say that. So they keep expanding what different interpretations
That's
throughout
true.
the years.
It doesn't say that. It just says that Congress can't make a national law that says everyone has to follow one religion.
Right. It actually doesn't say that you can ban prayer. But my point is though is that there's nowhere in this is kind of like when I feel like it's when Roe v. Wade was sort of read into the penumbra of the Fourth Amendment, where
it's enshrined.
It's there. It's there. Just look, it's enshrined. It's like where I'm reading this document over and over. I'm looking at the statements of the founding fathers. I don't see anything where they say, "Oh yeah, it's totally cool to burn a flag." It's so obvious.
And where is this for guns? Where is this ever for guns?
Yeah, exactly.
When do I ever see these people running out and being like, "Your right to own a machine gun shall not be infringed"? Never seen it once. I see tons of gun control. I see tons of you can't have them. I see tons of gun bans. I don't ever see them trying to enshrine that right. But somehow when it comes to the one thing that's bad behavior to demoralize the entire public, that's enshrined as an American right, and it's always been that way. Get the fuck out of here.
I don't think it's a bedrock argument. But I do think it could encroach on expression.
Saying that you're taking someone's rights away when you say burning the flag is illegal, and I say I don't think it's a right. I don't think it's ever been a right.
Yeah, I mean it's because it's like when you see in the LA riots, when you saw the Mexican flags, and you see that you're not thinking about the Mexican government, you're thinking about Mexican people. And it's the same thing with the American flag. It's like, okay, people are saying I'm protesting the government. It's like, well, that's great, but the flag represents the people. Like you're protesting
100%.
the existence of the American people. And there's a whole debate around what that identity is. But it's like, yeah, I mean, it's like you can protest the government in other ways, but the flag is something much deeper than a federal government.
You should be able to protest however you want, though, unless you're going to hurt somebody. Unless you're lighting the flag and throwing it on somebody.
But that's the whole point of this thing is they're saying it's incitement. And it's like, if
they'll
you're
say
burning,
likely to incite.
If you're saying, I hate you and your heritage and I want to attack you by burning it, I mean, that's incitement. That's
what about, like, to your point, though, what about the fact that this is new? You know, he cites 1989, right? So you're saying that all the people who came before that, who honored the flag and you weren't allowed to desecrate it, they were wrong. And they always should have been able to burn the flag if they wanted to?
Yeah.
And you don't think that's silly?
Why?
Because the press...
I think there's other ways to be demoralized.
All the men who bled and died for it, they clearly didn't want it desecrated.
Others died for you to do whatever to the flag.
No, they didn't die
Certainly.
for me
I've talked to many of them. And that's just saying...
no, I don't think soldiers went overseas to die for people's right to butt sex or to burn flags.
Well,
I just don't
you're adding butt
shit.
Sex in there. I don't agree with that at all.
Again, it's the same principle. Soldiers weren't joining the military to die for people's right to burn the American flag.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying they some of them would think that they died for expression.
Yeah, but to express what?
Express their distaste, the distrust,
distrust for the government, not to burn the symbol.
But look how emotional everyone's getting over it. It seems like a pretty good way to protest.
I think that's a very new kind of take on the Constitution. I think it's a very, very new read on it. I mean, I'm sure you could probably talk to people from the War on Terror veterans who believe that. But if you go back to World War II and ask any World War II,
well, that's different. Yeah, I agree. But still, Smedley Butler,
Vietnam,
decorated Purple Heart. Like the Marine.
Vietnam is probably
who wrote the book War is a Racket would probably be okay with that.
Look, more MacArthur. I'm just saying. Like the idea that this was the same idea of you can be a communist if you want to. Yeah, well, that really fucking sucked, didn't it? Because ultimately the communists started taking over all the institutions and they indoctrinate all of our kids, and it's horrible. And so, like, no, we probably should have locked them all up. We probably should have eradicated the ideology. We probably should have burned all the communist books.
We've tried it. We've tried the sort of libertarian, hey, we can be a utopia and everyone can choose their own path and everybody can, you can burn the flag or love the flag. It doesn't work.
Yeah, and
it just doesn't work.
And like the way this Constitution was organized, like it worked much better when we were like a hyper homogenous people where everyone's like the same religion, same everything, same culture. It's like now we're basically an empire, and we need to start. If we want to really embrace the empire life as we've structured our country in 2025, it's like the laws do need to sort of reflect that. We need a bit more order, a bit more structured everything. Because people will just take any freedom, any inch you give them, and like with this kind of ridiculousness, and like I agree, I don't even know if it's really a right. They will seize it to just throw
I don't think we're going to get a better future with this top-down governance. I think we'll get a better future when this country accepts Christ. I think having a moral grounding from the bottom up. I think a moral grounding from the bottom up is going to change generationally, but not top-down change won't do anything.
What I think a lot of, and I had a friend, from back home who's a Republican, but not like a huge Trump person, text me earlier today and said, was asking about some of this stuff. And I do think a lot of what Trump is doing, when you talk about the crime, when you talk about the flag, when you talk about it's all connected, right? So it's aesthetics. It is the broken windows policy. It is this idea that we need to reset.
Yeah.
Right? We need a big public reset. And to your point, right? What can he do? Right, with the presidency, with the power that he has, well, executive orders, absolutely.
Very little.
Executive orders is absolutely something he can do. And to your point as well, what effect is it going to have? Is it the most effective thing?
Yeah, I understand, but like
It's going to be a
when
process.
you say,
but
and I
you
agree,
need that big. You need that. He did the same thing with the president's fitness, right? He's doing the president's fitness plan again. That's finally coming back. So all of these things are resets,
Triple H.
kind of, and really, it's back to the country that he remembers.
Yeah.
That he remembers from when he was growing up, from when he was having his formative years, how the country was. He's just going back. Even when he talks about the, I love when he talks about the water pressure, right?
Yeah.
And he said, well, the water pressure used to be a lot better, and he was right about that actually.
Yeah, and
what
to your
about-
point too, it's like that's why city conservatives are so different from like rural conservatives, even suburban conservatives, because it's like Trump's neighborhood. He grew up in Queens, is an entirely different like culture, like civilization. He grew up in Jamaica Estates. Like when he was growing up, it was German and English and Scottish.
Yeah.
Now it's mostly South Asian. So it's like that has a really galvanizing effect. Not that, not saying other people, they don't see this. Obviously they see this as well. But yeah, for city conservatives who grew up in a place like Queens and you're 70 years old, I mean, you've seen a civilizational churn occur like on your blocks.
Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.